What's going on, everyone? So today we're working on the Stealth 360 once again. I was gonna make a video, then I wasn't, then I was, then I wasn't. But basically I had to make some changes, so I wanted to have a video showing the current internals and how this will actually be finished up and compared next to the eyeball Xbox. So we had it in this case here. You can see it had this cut out, and then this little slot here for the actual barbs on the radiator, and then here we had a little slot that the reservoir sort of sat into a little bit, and then it had these slots for the hoses or the tubing going to the reservoir. Now this was obviously originally built on that first gen Xbox, so this I had to cut open in order to access both of these. Now for some reason the system would turn on, and then you'd hear the fans all of a sudden kick up higher and higher. It would flash the two red lights, or purple in this case, and then it would just shut off. And I knew nothing was actually damaged with the board, that there was something, either a grounding or wiring issue, maybe one of the capacitors or something, because it would work every time. It just, after a few seconds, it would kick on as if it was overheating, which obviously it wasn't because it had just turned on. I then put a Falcon board, that's actually this one in here now. It did the exact same thing. I put both of them back in a regular case. Everything was fine. So I knew something was up with this. Now, besides this, there's two little bolts that mount the board to the frame, and they're slightly pushed back on the Falcon and Jasper motherboards, so I had to elongate those holes a little bit. So I figured something has to not be grounding right or fitting right, or maybe this frame is just tweaked a certain way, and when you screw it down, it's bending the motherboard, causing an error. But anyway, when I was originally made the claim that I was putting the Jasper system in there so that I could have both systems pretty much the same. All I had to do, like I said, was either cut out this little section or redo all these cuts on the other frame. So I already had that dilemma, but since I had to start from scratch with this frame, because I put it back in this one, everything works fine, even with the water block on there. I decided might as well make a few changes. One, I was debating putting the radiator up top instead of the reservoir, but the only issue is, just like the eyeball Xbox, when the system is upright, it still needs the reservoir to be, it can't really be mounted lower than the pump. And although it would be fine here, everything that's in the radiator would want to fall down to fill the little gap in the reservoir, and then there would be this gap every time you turned it on. So anyway, one thing was the slot we cut out here sort of interferes with the grounding shroud on that there, even though we're not using it. So I figured that could be one of the issues. So on this one, all we did was cut a slot for the tubing here in the back, and then we actually are using these reservoir mounting brackets. You can see the bolts sticking through right there. So we're not cutting out a big slot there. Now, I know part of this build that I was kind of proud of was you can just remove the hard drive case and then access this. But with these mounts, it's going to sit higher, which means, and that's actually what I'm working on now, we're cutting this out to be a little bit bigger on all three of these pieces. And that is because I also put the longer reservoir tube in here instead of the shorter one that was in there, which I only did so that I could still use this little mechanism, open and close it. And also the two screws that hold the front part of the hard drive case together are now removed since I cut out this extra bit. It sticks out farther, but because it's higher up, if all that stuff is on there, the top of the hard drive case will should still be below our port. And if not, the whole thing is going to be glued together in one big section, so the same way you would remove the top vent is just how you remove the whole top section, and you can fill and drain this port. But we'll see how that matches up later on. We also, for our radiator, actually cut out the entire section, the size of the radiator, and now you can see our rad is pushed in just a little bit, and I could have gone almost all the way so it was flush with the back, but then we would have closed up this gap here where I'm having the tubing run to and from the reservoir. Pump. Our pump is missing here. That is because I took the pump. As you know, we're taking apart the Slim over here, 360 Slim, and I figured I'm probably going to use that pump that I had in the Stealth build in that build, or save it for the PS4 or something and get a different pump for that system. And here we've got the same pump that is in the Eyeball Xbox right here. So everything is pretty much set up exactly the same, except instead of the reservoir being here and sticking out, our reservoir is up top. Now on top of that, our top case, that brings us to this part, is no longer going to work as it has a big hole right here, and our temperature mount would interfere with the pump. So I could just cut out that whole section, make a giant window, and we have all this open space. And then I think the fan would actually still be fine because it's mounted on top of the case, but it would sit about right here. However, I figured with all this other open space, now we got our painted drive. I did paint the pump to match. Why not get a bigger fan? So that 80mm fan was the one we had here that I just got that nice cover for. But I decided we can do a bigger fan. Why not go with a 120? Sorry, why not go with 120 millimeters more than the 80 and get a 200 millimeter fan? I know this was not the original plan for the Stealth build, but I figure this would make it almost exactly the same build as the Eyeball 360, and the only difference is this one's all blacked out. Still has all the LEDs and stuff, and then has a different position for a reservoir. Now, I haven't cut anything yet on the side of the case, so I don't know if this is 100% yet, but I did already buy it. It is the same fan as the Eyeball one, it's just not clear and has no LEDs. But yeah, that's what this little plug-in up here is for. It's for a fan, whichever one we use. So our pump is now the only thing plugged in to our soldered 3-pin connection here. Everything else is connected. You can see there's already fluid in it. So today all I'm doing is finishing up trimming this out. We're going to glue this whole side together, and then we'll be able to test fit everything together. I obviously already ran the system a little bit, made sure everything was good here. So yeah, just doing all the finishing touches. Final assembly, then I'm going to play it for a while, and then we'll put it in a test against the other flashier version. Alright, so we got the hole cut in the side, and the drill, and the holes drilled out for the screws to mount this on the side, even though I just realized I mounted it 90 degrees sideways. There's two sides that are flattened, but anyway, maybe that looks better with the temperature display, which we also got cut out, and around our radiator in the back. And so currently we've got these 3 fans on 5 volts, and this one is connected to the 12 volts with the pump. I realized it really isn't any louder on 12 volts, so we'll just do that for now, although I may change it and put this back to with the other fans and add the 12 volt UV strip up at the top maybe, but we'll see down the road. Anyway, we got that done. I got this cut out the rest of the way. I still need to clean it up, and I want to find something I can kind of line around this inside part. I think that would make it look a lot better, but for now we're going to test fit it. Look at that. Back takes a little bit because it's supposed to kind of hook around the top of the case there, but now it is kind of excessive how much you cut out here. I probably could have tried doing a more rounded edge. That would have looked nice, but threw a little sticker in there for now. Like I said, we'll clean up the edges and probably line the inside with something, as well as just underneath the reservoir. But for now I like that, and then we'll put the UV strip more facing up to kind of light up the reservoir. I think that looks a lot better with the bigger reservoir on there. Last thing I gotta do, which I can play it and test it for now, which is fine, but unfortunately the peg snapped off of our sync button on our carbon fiber faceplate. So I think I'm just going to swap it out with, I'll paint a gloss one. It would be easier to just cut these plastic welds and glue a new one on from another faceplate. And maybe we can just do gloss black, or just leave it the Elite matte black like the rest of the console so far, except for the back. That's still our ghost case. Don't think you can see through it at all from that angle. It's the smoke. But anyway, that's it for now, guys. Let me know which one is your favorite so far. Our Stealth 200mm fan, water-cooled Xbox 360, or our Eyeball water-cooled, pretty much just a Stealth in terms of size, but this one just has the reservoir sticking out there, and then this one's a little cleaner on the side but has the reservoir on the top. So let me know which one's your favorite. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video.